call to order the City of Douglasville's legislative work session for tonight, which is February the 13th. Our invocation will be done by Pastor James Harper, pastor of the First Presbyterian Church of Douglasville. After that, we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by the Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller. Please stand for the invocation.
Let's pray. Lord our God, we are grateful to be gathered here tonight, to be at the work of this city, God. We're grateful for the leaders who have stepped forward to become elected and to serve in this way, God. I pray that they would know your joy and their desire to work hard and to do the best for this community. I pray that you'd give them wisdom this night. I pray that you'd give them courage of their convictions, and I pray you continue to use them to bring about the great work that's happening in our city and in this area. God, you've done a good thing through them. They're good people who serve well, and we're just grateful for that. And we ask that you would just stir us all the citizens of this city and this county, to be supportive, to be faithful, and to be committed to making this place the best possible city and county to live in this state, God. We know that there's many good things here. Help us be grateful for all that we've received. And we pray these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem, for leading us in the pledge, and Pastor Harper, we appreciate those prayers, and thank you so much for your time today and always coming, being willing to bless us. We have announcements and presentations. I have a presentation of a proclamation for Friday, February the 21st as Arbor Day in the city of Douglasville. And I'm not certain if there's someone here from KDB. There you go. It's Ms. Chan Weeks, our Executive Director of Keep Douglasville Beautiful. I will read the proclamation, and then if you don't mind coming forward to receive it, we'll have a picture, and you can give comments if you like, Ms. Chan. Office of the Mayor, proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting of trees, and the holiday be called Arbor Day. It was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, lower our heating and cooling cost, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide a habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economy, vitality of businesses, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and a spiritual renewal. And now, therefore, I, Rochelle Robinson, Mayor of the City of Douglasville, do hereby proclaim February 21st, 2020 as Arbor Day in the City of Douglasville. And I encourage all students and citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And I further encourage all citizens to plant and care for trees to gladden the hearts and promote the well-being of this and future generations. So proclaimed this 13th day of February 2020. Ms. Chan Weeks, our Executive Director of Keep Douglasville Beautiful, you'd like to have words. I would like to say that I appreciate you all taking on the task for Douglas County High School, and as we replanted trees on Dr. King's holiday, there were many citizens out there. Judge Wynn and his family, I think, matched a grant, and so we were able to uproot the trees that were there, that were dying, and replanted new trees. It was a brisk day, but there were probably about 30 or 80 or something. They were telling me so many people were coming in and out that day. So thank you for spearheading that and all the other efforts that we have in the city for Keep Douglasville Beautiful. Now you can talk about Arbor Day.
Right.
Yes,
well,
ma'am.
on behalf of the City of Douglasville Tree Board and Keep Douglasville Beautiful, I want to thank the Mayor and Council for the value that they place on trees. here in Douglasville. I appreciate that. And we did plant 63 trees at Douglas County High School, and we will be having a dedication for that tree planting, as well as a garden that we're putting in over at Douglas County High School on Friday, February 21st at 11 a.m. So the public is welcome to join us for that event, and we look forward to seeing you all there.
All right, thank you so much. Let's give Ms. Chan Weeks a hand for all that she does and keep Douglasville beautiful. And we will come around and take a picture with you.
Perfect. Let's see. All right. Perfect. All right. Big smiles, everyone. Perfect. Thank you.
We do also have a presentation by Maulding and Jenkins for the FY 2019 annual audit. And I think our representative, and he will come and give us a presentation. Our finance director is Karen Callan, and she's overseeing the process. So thank you so much. Please give your name and address for the record, and then you can present your presentation.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is James Bentz. I'm the Audit Engagement Partner for Mauldin and Jenkins. Our address is 200 Galleria Parkway in Atlanta. And I'm here to present the results of the June 30, 2019 audit. With that, I've got the presentation in front of you all, and then on the slides, I'm going to not read every page, but go through kind of the highlights. If at any point in time you have any questions, please feel free to jump in, and I'll hopefully be able to answer those. So starting with page 2 and page 3, just to give a little information on the background of the firm. We come and present to you all each year, and just to keep everyone aware, governments are something that our firm specializes in. We are a regional firm, and we have 11 partners who spend 100% of their time serving local governments. We serve about 450 local governments throughout the Southeast, and again, it's something that we do year-round, focusing solely on serving the local governments, cities, counties, municipalities, and school districts. I was the engagement partner. I've been with Mauldin Jenkins for 17 years, and each one of our audits has a quality control partner involved. Doug Moses was that partner for your audit. He's been with the firm for over 20 years, and he as well spends 100% of his time working with local governments. As part of the audit process, we review your financial statements. Management prepares the financial statements. We audit those in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards as well as government auditing standards, which means that we test enough of your transactions to issue an opinion as to whether or not they're materially correct as presented. It does not mean that we test 100% of your transactions. So it's not 100% assurance, but it does give an opinion as to whether or not management's financial statements are correct. Through that audit process, we issued an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion, the thumbs up saying that the financial statements prepared by management are correct and material as presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. One thing I'll take a moment here to kind of commend the city for. You all prepare what's called a comprehensive annual financial report. The state of Georgia requires just a basic set of financial statements, so the document you prepare is about 3 times the size of the minimum requirement to meet the state's requirements. It includes an introductory section, which has 2 different documents providing readers of the financial statement additional information on the city. And it also includes the statistical section, which provides 10 years of trend data for the operations of the city, the revenue trends of the city, debt, as well as other demographic and operating information about the city. So it's a lot of information and a lot of time to prepare that document. In the state of Georgia, there's about 170 governments as a total that prepare this type of document. So you're in the minority on that, obviously with 150 counties and 500-something municipalities. To say 175 of them do that, and yourself included, is a big thing to kind of commend yourself on. So anytime we have that opportunity with a local government who does take the time to prepare that document, I want to commend you all as well as your management on that. Through the audit, we issued the audit report on December 16, 2019, and that was submitted to the State Department of Audits by the 6-month deadline, as well as it's been submitted to GFOA for review and application of the Award for Excellence in Financial Reporting. We don't have those results yet. They typically take a couple of months once it's been submitted to get that back, but we did receive the award in 2018, and we expect to receive it again in 2019. We did not have any material weaknesses as part of this year's audit, material weaknesses in internal control. So it's always a good thing for us to be able to stand up and say that for a finance department, that they've been able to prepare the financial statements without our control in preparing that. So I do commend the city on that. We received full cooperation from your management team. As part of an audit, we come in, we usually do an interim visit, and then we do an on-site final visit. We provide a list of things we need. Management prepares that. We come in and we audit and we ask more questions. So it's not always a painless process, but we do appreciate their cooperation in getting us the information so that we can conduct the audit and come to our conclusions. Starting on page 9, one of the things that we always try to do is look at your general fund. When you try to compare government to government, governments will always have a general fund. What's within the fund is a little bit different. And so what we've got here is your general fund for the year June 30, 2019. It's got your revenues broken down in kind of your major buckets, and you'll see kind of very normal for a municipality. Your predominant sources of revenue are your property taxes and your local sales tax. Page 10 jumps into the expenditure side of your general fund. And again, kind of in line with what you see with other local governments, other municipalities, the predominant source of how you're spending those dollars is in your public safety area. So where you're providing the public safety for your residents, and then the operations of the city in the general government functions. So very normal and typical for a government. On page 11 and page 12, we've got some 5-year trends here, just trying to show, again, very high level how the general fund perform. And you can see the green bar being the bar on the left is your revenues, and the red bars are the bar on the right. That's your expenditures. So you can see budgeted the past 5 years, the city's had a good trend of operating the general fund with revenues exceeding expenditures, be it through budgeted plans for the general fund to come out that way, as well as just operating efficiencies. And so here's the kind of the numbers to those charts. You can see where the actual surplus, the dollars going to the bottom of the bottom line for the general fund have been for the past 5 years. On page 13, one of the things we always try to look at when you look at a general fund and an outsider's trying to evaluate how does your general fund look compared to someone else is they'll look at your fund balance as it compares to the annual expenditures for the fund. And so GFOA usually recommends 2 to 3 months of reserves in your general fund compared to what your annual operations are. And you can see for June 30, 2019, we've got $17 million in total, and there's about $14 million of that which is considered unassigned and available going forward. And your $28 million annual expenditure, so you're sitting at around 50 to 55%, which when you compare that to the 2 to 3 month requirement, you guys are sitting at about 6 months. So your general fund looks pretty good. On page 14, as I mentioned earlier, we did not have any material weaknesses in the internal controls for the city's audit, but we did have one item that we've talked to management on. It's just kind of a recommendation, a byproduct of the audit that we always when we have the opportunity or we see a situation where there could be improvements, we'll make those recommendations. It's been provided to you all, but again, we've met with management about this and we've talked about the management point here. And then page 15 just has some information related to new and upcoming accounting standards, which potentially may or may not be applicable to the city. We try to work with management throughout the year to make sure that they're aware of new standards as they're coming out. But we also want to make sure that governance is aware of what's there, because the decisions you all make can take something that's currently not applicable and it would become applicable based on decisions. So we always want to make sure you all are aware of the standards. But again, we work with management throughout the year to kind of keep both parties abreast of what's going on in the city and what would be applicable at any point in time. So the standards are there, but if you all have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Thank you so much. We have any questions from the council? I know we did have a brief in our committee meeting, so do we have any questions or concerns, Mr. Finance Chair?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like to take a moment to thank Mr. Bentz for coming out and sharing the information with us. Great job on that end, but I would also like to commend our staff, Ms. Callan and Mr. Sean Bird from the Finance Department with the job that they're doing. Year in, year out, it seems as though as I've been on the council, they seem to do a superb job, get good reports, and I just want to thank them for continuing in that way. That's all that I had, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Finance Chair. We appreciate those kind sentiments, and I'm sure the council and myself, we echo those sentiments. Thank you for the report. We really appreciate it. And it's exciting for the citizens. I know that we're handling their money well, their tax dollars, and we have 6 months in reserve that's been stored up for all these projects that we're starting to execute this year. So thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Callan, as well.
Thank you all.
Yes, sir. So I will go over the protocol for our legislative work session, and then we will follow the agenda that was printed outside. And after I do the announcements, I've done the presentations, we'll go to item number 5. So I'd like to welcome you again to the City of Douglasville's legislative work session. This work session where agenda items are presented for discussion and no official action will be taken. Action will be taken on these items next week on Monday. I ask that you would please keep your comments and presentations on a professional level dealing with the facts that are important for this governing body to make our decisions. We'll ask that you would not refrain from any personal attacks on any individual or group of individuals. If you deviate from this requirement after the warning, we'll ask that you would leave the premises for the evening. Only one person speaking at a time. Please do not applaud or react to speakers. Speak from the audience, cheer, carry on conversations, or be disruptive. We would really appreciate that. I'll remind you that we're only required to accept public comments during the required public hearings on zoning matters. And if you have a telephone or cell phone, I should say, iPads and all those electronic devices, we'll ask that you'll put those in silent mode during the meeting or turn those off so they will not be disruptive. Agenda items will be handled as the following. The committee chairperson will read the agenda item. Then that person representing the agenda item or applicant will make his or her presentation. Myself and council members will possibly ask questions. After that, the committee chairperson will ask for comments or statements from the audience. There is a maximum time of 30 minutes for those that are in favor of that applicant's issue and 30 minutes for those in opposition, and each person has 5 minutes to speak. The timekeeper is the city clerk, Ms. Vicki Acker, to my right. If you'd like to speak, we ask that you would please fill out a form that's on the table, and when you come to the microphone, give us your name and address for the record. Each person has 1 opportunity to speak. This is not a question and answer or debate format. We are just here to receive information. The committee chairperson will give everyone an opportunity to speak. If there is an item that is not on the agenda and you'd like to talk with us, there is ample time after the meeting under comments from citizens and delegates, and you are certainly welcome to come up after and after the agenda has been already gone through and give us any comments that you'll have that are germane to city business. So having said all of that, we'll move on with the agenda as presented and printed outside and on the screen. So we'll move on with item 4. Item 5 now is Economic Development Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have one item this evening under the Economic Development Committee, and that is to reappoint Mr. Phil Sisk to the City of Douglasville Urban Redevelopment Agency for a term expiring January 3rd, 2022.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Chelsea Jackson, 6695 Church Street. As you all know, for the Urban Redevelopment Agency, it has individuals from several boards on the city, from the city. We met with the Development Authority today. Mr. Sisk would like to be reappointed. The board also recommended him to be reappointed as well as recently Mr. Sisk was nominated as Vice Chair for the Urban Redevelopment Agency.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. There are no other candidates for the position, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. Is this something that we were allowed to put on to the consent agenda? Okay. Now, unless there's any opposition to reappointing Mr. Sisk, I would like to place his name on the consent agenda for reappointment to the Douglasville Urban Redevelopment Agency. Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no other items under the Urban Development Committee tonight.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. We'll move on to Finance Committee, and that's chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have
Welcome.
several items tonight under Finance 2, to be exact. We will start with adoption of an ordinance to amend the City of Douglasville's fiscal year 2019-2020 splashed fund balance. Mr. Byrd?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Shane Bird, 6695 Church Street, and I am with the City of Douglasville Finance Department. So tonight I actually have a handful of amendments to various SPLOST projects within the SPLOST fund that we have. I would like to start off by explaining the revenue aspect of that amendment. We essentially have an additional $342,890.78 in revenues from interest earnings that we have received through January 30th, 2020. And the way that these revenues are then split up is we have various categories across the SPLOST program, which includes public safety, that will get 20% of that, facilities, which will receive 15% of that, transportation, which will receive 45% of that, and then parks and recreation, which will receive 20% of that. And essentially what we do with that is we will split it up into these various categories, contingencies, and then from there we will distribute it out to various projects that require funding. So to begin, we have 17 projects that are going to be amended. And I'm going to run through these projects as well as the amendments that we're going to be making. And if you have any questions, do feel free to stop me and ask anything that you'd like. I'd be more than happy to field any questions. So to begin, we have radio replacements, which we are amending by $3,322.35. Next, we have City Hall renovations, which we are amending by $1,250.45. Next, we have Jackson Paving, which is SPLOST Resurfacing List 1, which we are disencumbering that contract, and it is reducing that by $407,127. Number 4 next is going to be the I-20 at Fairburn Road Interchange Landscaping. We're essentially adding $204,995.92 to that project budget. Number 5, we are amending the Northside Trail System project budget by a reduction of $83,250. Next, we have the Douglas Boulevard resurfacing, which we are reducing by $104,502.19. Next is our 2018 LMIG SPLOST match, or the Local Maintenance Improvement Grant, which is a 30% match obligation by the SPLOST fund, which we are reducing by the $234,125.53, and that is for the 2018 LMIG SPLOST match. And again, it is a 30% match obligation that we have met. Next is the Lighting and Banners Phase 2 SPLOST match, which we are reducing by $237,019.65, and we have completed that project. Next is our 2019 LMIG SPLOST match, which we are encumbering $163,255.44. Number 10, and next is going to be the Ellis Street widening, which we are amending by $130,069. Next is our pedestrian crossing improvements, which we are adding $24,900 to that project budget. Number 12, and next is going to be the Warren Drive speed humps, which we are adding $25,837.86 to that project budget. Next is a downtown traffic and roadway assessment, which we are adding $33,000 to that project budget. Next, number 14 is Jesse Davis Park renovations, which we are reducing that project budget by $524,796, which will leave $250,000 in that project's budget. Next, the number 15 is the Mill Village Park project, which we are amending to add $131,679.78 to that project's budget. Number 16, the renovation of the Club Drive facility where our current public services maintenance is housed. We are going to do a minor remodel and construction on that, which we are adding $500,000 to that project's budget. And lastly, we have the Hunter Park Walking Trail, which we are amending that project by $212,000, $212,395.15. Now, do you all have any questions for me? I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Council, Madam Mayor, we have spoke of this and have received this information in our committee's meeting earlier today. I would open the floor for any other questions or comments of council or Madam Mayor? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Not a question, just a comment on items 7 and 9, are those LMIG SPLOS matching streets for resurfacing, that the streets have been, we hired AECOM to do an evaluation of all the streets in the city of Douglasville, and they have a numerical rating based on the deterioration of the streets or the quality, and so these streets have already been voted on, and they're implementing to have those continue to be resurfaced. So just clarity, because I know people ask me all the time, resurfacing is something that we can all see, and that is, we're really excited about that, but the streets have already been rated, and so we can certainly call in if something is going on with the street, but we have had an evaluation in which we're trying to go out in a methodical way that's fair to get all the streets all across the city. Thank you.
Others? Would there be any public comment or question concerning this? I know this is a rather extensive list, and as you can see, there are 17 different projects under the SPLOST that we have been working on. You can see there's a lot that's been going on that does, in fact, take and apply those SPLOST funds in a lot of different ways within our community. I want all of us to realize the importance of that. Any other comments or questions? If not, we will take this up on Monday for a vote. I'll go on to item B then. Adopt an ordinance to amend the City of Douglasville's fiscal year 2019-2020 general fund budget. Ms. Callan?
Yes, Karen Callan, Finance Director, 6695 Church Street. This is the second quarter budget amendment for general fund for fiscal year 20. This increases our total general fund budget by $385,775. I'll briefly run through these items as we discuss these during our 5 o'clock committee meeting. We have a legislative net increase in the legislative department of $3,000, and this adjustment is to restore the mayor's travel budget line item from the prior year. This was a clerical error during the budget 20 process. Information systems, a net decrease of $40,000. Less contracted services were utilized than budgeted. Buildings and grounds, increase of $316,775. This is due to vehicle repairs, construction costs for the employee health care clinic, tipping fees and cleanup of the old mill site, and improvements to the current office space that will be transitioned to a lactation room. Community development, a net increase of $45,000. This is for setting up the legal fees for setting up the city's tax allocation district. Community relations, adjustments for various line items in their operating budget that nets to zero. Planning department, increase of $74,000 in other professional services due to the comprehensive transportation plan study. Engineering, increase of $12,000. This is due to the topographical survey for the old mill site. Human resources, a $35,000 adjustment for unemployment claims due to the Department of Labor. These costs were not anticipated during the budget programming process. Police department, various line items in their operation budget, the net effect is zero. And in our garage fleet department, a net decrease of $60,000. This $50,000 will be allocated to complete the Cedar Mountain building.
Questions, comments? Again, rather extensive amendment. We have discussed this at our 5 o'clock meeting today. Were there any additional comments or questions from council or mayor? What about public comment or question? Seeing none, then I would not ask that this be put on the consent agenda. I would like for there to be the opportunity of other input should that be needed on Monday before we vote on it. So we'll bring it back on Monday for a vote. Thank you, Ms. Callan. Madam Mayor, that's all that we have tonight under finance. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Finance Chair. We'll move on to item 7, which is Housing and Community Affairs Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Danley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no items under Housing and Community Affairs.
Thank you so much,
You're welcome.
Councilwoman. We'll move on to Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
Yes, ma'am. I have one, item A. Adopt an ordinance to amend subsection 250B of the administration ordinance to add as pre-approved travel events for the mayor all meetings of the African American Mayors Association. Someone had
Our mic is not. We will have further discussion on this at 5 o'clock on Monday.
Okay. Madam Mayor, I'd like to put this back on the agenda for Monday for further discussion.
Okay.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman Davis. We'll move on then to item number 9, which is Personnel and Organization Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight in Personnel and Organization.
Thank you so much, sir. Planning and Development Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have a
Welcome.
short night tonight in Planning and Development, only 4 items. You think I'm kidding? This is a relatively short night. We'll start with item A, refer to the Planning Commission a proposal to rezone city-owned property at 6740 West Spring Street of .51 acres in land lot 16, District 1, Section 5D, Parcel 89, from public, semi-public district to general commercial district, with principal and accessory uses limited to school, kindergarten, elementary, and secondary.
Councilman Adams,
Yes.
This item refers to the building that is currently occupied by Airway Christian School. We'll have further discussion of this item on Monday and why we need to have this referral and what we're attempting to do to be able to allow them to continue to utilize that building.
Okay. So we'll bring this up again on Monday night. Question, comment? We haven't really discussed it. We'll move on. Item B, hold a public hearing and consider a request for a change in zoning from R2 Family Residential Detached to Planned Residential Development for 7.6 acres on Van Zant Mill Road, land lot 224, District 2, Section 5, parcels 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Application by Torian Priestley with the Benoit Group, LLC. Ms. Williams?
Good evening, Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. The item before you was heard by the Planning Commission on February 4th. The applicant is proposing an affordable senior living apartment development that consists of 165 apartments for people ages 62 and up. The 1 and 2 bedroom apartments will be 750 and 1,050 square feet in size respectively. The future land use designation for the parcels located within the city of Douglasville is medium density residential. The city's UDO states that the intent of the PRD zoning designation is to protect and promote a suitable environment for family life and to encourage flexibility in meeting the needs of families by providing high-density apartment dwellings with a minimum development site of 2 acres. The site plan shows 165 units on over 7.269 acres, introducing increased density in the area. The site, currently undeveloped and owned by Golden Memorial United Baptist Church, is 7 acres. The subject property is located along Van Zant Mill Road. The proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan future land use designation for medium density residential. Guidelines for this designation include existing zoning districts such as R6 apartments. The proposed development echoes the vision if taken holistically with the surrounding development. Along with several other objectives provided in the 2013 City of Douglasville Comprehensive Plan, the plan calls for quality services for seniors. The vision statement from the Northside Redevelopment Plan reads as the Northside will be a diverse and sustainable community that invests and supports families, singles, and seniors and businesses with local access to amenities that meet residents and visitors' health, safety, educational, and recreational needs, and with an improved quality of life and unique character that will inspire pride and unity. The applicant's request does reasonably promote the public health, safety, of general welfare of the area.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Ms. Williams. Okay, if the applicant would come forward with any presentation of their zoning request, rezoning request, give us your name and address for the record. And you have heard Madam Mayor's rules of the public hearing, so we would hear from you at this time.
Excuse me. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Cortez Carter, 1633 Blairwood Court in Atlanta. I'm Director of Development with the Benoit Group. The Benoit Group is an affordable seniors housing development company operating here in Atlanta and throughout the Southeast. We have about 3,000 units under management and development as we speak. We partner with, and I'm joined this evening with Dr. Reverend Gregory Williams from Golden Memorial Church as our partner, equity development partner in this site. The church happens to own the land and is currently not being used for a monetary purpose. And so today we propose to do the following. Develop 165 units of seniors housing for persons who are 62 years old and older. We intend to build a 3-story structure. It will be made of brick and stone, together with drive-it and hardy board, and will have surface parking. Standard amenities will include a community room, as is relatively typical, fitness and aerobic centers, a cyber cafe with computers, training centers, of course, washer and dryers in every unit, and then the actual units themselves will have high Energy Star appliances, washers and dryers inside, disposals, laminate countertops, and the other higher quality things you expect to see in a 62 and older seniors facility. Total development cost is $28.9 million estimated at this time, and I talked about the construction. In terms of timing of the project, we expect to have land acquisition done by the end of this year. Construction is about 16 months. And just to remind you, the site sits due north of Chicago Avenue, just abeam the church. In terms of lease up, we expect an 8-month lease up period and 8 months to stabilize the project and have it fully full. May I answer any questions?
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Questions, council, Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir. I just had a comment. I wanted to thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to speak. I'm excited about this project. I wasn't part of the group that came to see a presentation at the church, and Dr. Williams invited us to come, and it's very exciting. Of course, we know that we're living longer, and we like to have options. And seniors, I was at an aging meeting today at the Atlanta Regional Commission, and the numbers are growing exponentially about people who live longer in the community. So we're going to need housing choices, and I think this will be an asset to the area. So not making any comments like I'm going to vote or no. I don't even vote. It's just in the case of a tie. But I'm just excited for this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Other council comments?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Adams. I have a question. I, too, concur with the mayor, very excited about this project. Just have a question in regards to the seniors. You stated that the age of the I guess the applicant would be 62. Can you explain how this would be an exclusive senior project?
So the majority of the financing for the project will be using a program called the 221D4 program out of HUD, and the minimum age is 62, so just by compliance guidelines, it's 62 years old. But we've heard more than that from the communities around and the church regarding their desire to ensure that the building isn't a building that in fact is exclusively for folks that are 62 and older. So by policy and by leasing, I can confirm that occupants more than 14 days and on lease will be required to be greater than 62 years old or greater as part of the transaction. And that varies around the country depending on the municipality.
Okay, great. Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Did you say this is entirely independent living?
Yes, it is.
And there's no assisted living, there's no fully assisted, it's completely independent living?
Completely independent with no wraparound services, though as I talked about the community, the amenities in the structure, the community rooms, the cyber cafes, the workout facilities, those are to be used by the residents, but they're not designed to be wraparound services, support services.
I'm not questioning the need for this development, or certainly the idea of putting it in the neighborhood and so forth. But what I'm wondering is, if you're promoting independent living and independence on the people, why are you positioning it on the property in a way that it looks like it's tucked away in the woods? Would you not want to position in a way that people could actually walk out and get to local stores, businesses, and so forth? Is there a reason why it's not positioned in a way that it's more accessible to the community?
That's a great question. The design of the project, which is called the Astoria Crystal Lake, is designed to be a community unto itself. And so the aesthetic includes courtyards and places of refuge and places of meander and outside gardens within the structure. And so that's the first piece. In terms of where it's located, this is the land that the church happens to own that works for this kind of use, because there's an abandoned right-of-way called Von Sant that leads from Chicago Avenue due north. We intend to restore that right-of-way, putting in the street, as it were, and making that sort of the promenade to what would be a fabulous community once you travel that 1,000 feet. But it's because that's the land that's best suited and available for this kind of development. As you approach Chicago Avenue, there's another density issue. The world sort of changes. It gets faster, of course. And so this is a bit of a respite for independence within the unit, within the actual structure or the unit itself.
Is there intention to develop that Van Zant Street in the future, or is that part of the
Well,
long-term plan?
I can't speak for the church. I do know the church has a much broader master development plan and thoughts around that entire campus, and certainly to the extent that Benoit might be invited to that conversation, we'd be happy to talk to them.
I mean, I don't mean to put you on the spot on that, because
Sure.
I mean, that's outside your realm. My concern, I'm a bit of an evangelical when it comes to the broad goals of the city, which is to make it more connected, increase the pedestrian quality, and ability for people to leave their cars behind. And oftentimes people in this age range aren't going to bother, don't want to have cars anymore. And I understand the idea of sort of having it as a refuge in a way. But from an architectural standpoint, you can create a refuge in the middle of the city. There's not, with the busy blocks all around it, you can still do that. So I don't know that you can say that putting it off in the woods somewhere is necessarily a rationale for creating a refuge. But my concern just is again wanting to see this more connected to the community, not to be a secluded or sequestered community that sort of sits off independently from the community. I mean, we're all in this together. We need to be developing or creating developments that are tied into our community in a better way. I mean, it's great that you're doing this. I think it obviously serves a need. I'm not opposed to any of that. I just want to see, I've just come at it from a perspective of wanting to see developments like this more integrated into the community in a way that makes it more pedestrian friendly, that makes it more prominent. Advertise it by showing it off. Don't hide it.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, I'd like to make a comment just to add to that. Actually, on James Simpson Boulevard, that I've noted, well, actually, there are trees that have been cut down so that you actually can see the face of the church, the front of the church, and also the development of this development, senior independent living, actually connects to the Willing Working Park. So there will be opportunities for seniors to walk to the park on the back end, along with other development that is going to happen in the future. So,
in the North Side Trail we just passed, so that will give us that assessment is going to be done. It can give us connectivity.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman.
It'd be good to see that as part of the development plan.
Councilman Miller, you have to let me talk now.
Go ahead, Mr.
Take up
Davis.
all the time. Yeah, I'm very excited about this project, and it looked like, looking at the plan, it's going to be a gated community. And Councilman Danley, she took the words out of her mouth. It will be butted up right there at the Willow Working Park where we get ready to redo. So, would the traffic be coming in off Chicago Avenue?
Yes, sir. The main access will be off of Chicago Avenue.
Avenue. Yes. And how do this subdivision that's Chicago Park, they welcome this?
Yes, sir. We've had some meetings with Chicago Park residents, and the only ask was, once you clear this new street, that lighting be appropriate and intentional, such that that street doesn't become a dark space, but in fact be celebrated. And so our idea, architecture, is in fact to light that street because it exposes the eastern elevation of those homeowners. And so that's a pretty straightforward and simple request.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Miller.
Thank you. I just wanted to know if you guys have taken into consideration the bike trail that's going to be coming along, or the walking trails. I'm very much in agreement with Mayor Pro Tem Miller in having this project accessible to the rest of the community that's over there, the park and everything else that we're working on.
Councilman Miller, the short answer is, in our consideration of this site, but being that far north off Chicago Avenue, one of the talking points we talked a lot about is about complementing Douglasville's infrastructure and park investment, which includes the trails. So that hasn't fallen short on our planning, but we've got to, of course, address the issue of connecting to Chicago because of the vehicular access needed. But yeah, the short answer is yes.
So, can also add, and I concur with both Councilman Miller and Councilman Miller and NT, that we see the development, but to see the full picture on this rendering would give us a better visual picture.
Sure. I'll be happy to provide additional renderings if you like.
That would show the Chicago Avenue, the entrance,
Chicago Avenue, yes,
as well as the connectivity. Yes.
Any other comment?
One last quick thing, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I just want people to understand. I'm not opposing. As a matter of fact, we don't make a decision until we make a decision about it, and I'm not meaning to denigrate the proposal in any way. It just, I'm speaking from the perspective of, this community has, and especially on the north side, we've wanted to the north side has wanted development for so long, and we don't want to be in a position where we're so desperate, we're so excited that anybody proposes anything that comes along, we just grab onto it and take it. We're trying to raise the bar. We want quality development. We don't just want development for development's sake. We want quality development. And we just want it. And every time, no matter where any proposal comes in the city, we're going to push to get the best development we can, the best quality of housing, the best development that integrates, like I said before, into the community in a way that that everybody benefits from it. Not the idea of the gated community tucked off into the side and turning its back on the city. We want something that's celebrates and becomes part of the city. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. No other comments or questions of council. Is there anyone here that would come out that would like to speak in support of this rezoning in the public hearing, please? If so, please come forward. This is speaking in support. Kindly give us your name and address for the record.
Marilyn Clark, 8407 Military Way, Douglasville, Georgia. I'm the chair of New Horizons Steering Committee. I'm for the project. Some of the questions that Mayor and City Council was asking is about the location of this apartment development. When Benoit was meeting with Golden United Methodist, I was invited to this meeting, and I was the one that, with the master plan, with what the proposal for Willing Workers Park, as well as the trail, I was in the meetings, and I'm the one that was showing them everything the city was proposing. And the one thing that we as the steering committee has been telling Benoit is the connect activity. We wanted to flow with everything that the city, everything that the community was saying that they wanted. So everything that they're proposing, they knew about the park. They knew the park is coming up. They was connected with the park. Golden is also looking at bringing a family life center into that same area. So it's building that area up. Right now it's just a wooded area. But everything that the church is doing, what Benoit is doing, what the city is doing with the trails, all of that area will be connected. And another thing that was pointed out with Vincent Street, for future, there's our property, Golden's property, butts up against Upper Shaw, and there's an actual a piece of land that Vincent can connect with Upper Shaw Mill to bring the street all the way through to the 92, which when 92 gets redone, it will connect with the roundabout on 92. I think I explained that. I hope I explained that pretty good.
You're speaking of the intersection of Upshaw and what is now State Route 92?
Right, what is the state route. On one of the proposed plans is doing the roundabout at Stewart Middle School as well as Upper Shaw. Well, in future, you can actually connect Vincent in that area with Upper Shaw and connect the east side with Chicago Avenue with 92, which will eventually be changed. So it will be connecting if everything that is being proposed go forward the way that it's been laid out. So I am for it. Like I said, we've met with Benoit. The steering committee is with them and backing them, and we're excited about it to see. There are some things that we was asking for that Benoit said that they would, they could take care of. So it was just minor stuff.
Thank you,
So
ma'am.
we are for it.
Appreciate your comments. Are there others that would speak in support of this item? Please come forward. Kindly give us your name and address for the record, sir, and we would love to hear from you.
Jeremiah Walden, 8326 Hollis Street, Douglasville. I guess what I'm trying to say, and we'll say, sounds a little bit more conceptual than the constructive and concrete views that are before the floor. But going back to the initial construction of Golden United Methodist Church was hidden by almost a forest. The provincial or the definitive voice that struck myself and my sister the Saturday evening we went out to look for a place for Golden was hidden behind 6 acres or 5 acres of trees. At the time, there wasn't much consideration or concern about making it germane to everything else that was happening in Douglasville. But through the power of the Holy Spirit, we were able to speak to that. The trees, and when we built Golden, it was behind a theater of trees. Somehow, through the Spirit of God and His divine direction, Golden has become one of the largest African-American church in the North Georgia district and is growing. This project is also in that sense, that mystery, rather than requiring or resting on the laurels or thinking that this is going to be something that that's any different. I see this as a drawing construction that will enhance the quality of life of people in Douglasville entirely. If we miss this chance to do that kind of faith stepping and faith adapting, I think we'll miss another chance that Golden United Methodist Church is brought to Douglasville. It's a good thing, people. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Others that would speak in support?
You can pass the plate after Mr. Walden and take up an offering. It was good. It was good. It was good. It was good.
If there are no others that would speak in support, would there be anyone here tonight that would speak in opposition to this application? If so, please come forward. Seeing no one speaking in opposition, then I will close the public hearing, and we will take this item up. If there are no other comments or questions of council or Madam Mayor, we will take this up on Monday night for a vote. Thank you all. Next item, item C, hold a public hearing and consider a request for a change in zoning from R2 Single Family Residential District to O&I Office Institutional District for 30.09 acres at 6903 James D. Simpson Avenue in land lot 224, District 2, Section 5, Parcel 14. Application by Herbert Humphrey, Metro Corp Development Enterprises, Incorporated. Ms. Williams?
Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. The item before you was heard by the Planning Commission on February the 4th. The applicant is requesting to rezone approximately 30.06 acres from R2 with special land use permit to OI Office Institutional. The future land use designation for the property is medium density residential. The applicant's narrative states that the current zoning designation R2 with SLUP limits the future uses, including but not limited to social services, recreation center, vocational schools, and vocational schools. An office institutional zoning designation will allow the applicant to further develop the property based on their vision. The potential developments will not be visible from the street, maintaining the residential character of the neighborhood. The proposed zoning map amendment is consistent with the comprehensive plan's vision of creating a sense of place that nurtures family, cultural values, and educational opportunities. The Northside Plan also recognizes this area as an asset and a potential location for catalytic pre-development. The area's future land use is designated medium-density residential. The applicant's request will help create local access to amenities that meet residents' health, safety, educational, and recreational needs as called for by the Northside study. Staff would like to note that the church is operating as an accessory use. An office institutional designation will allow the applicant to operate the church as the primary use and have the accessory use of the proposed additional facilities. Currently, they are not planning to build any additional facilities, but when the time arises, the designation will allow them to do so.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. So just for clarity, this actually is the church, the Golden United Methodist Church that we spoke of, that are wanting to rezone the property that they sit on presently
Correct.
in full from a residential zoning, they've been operating under a special land use permit,
Correct.
to an office and institutional zoning.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just for clarity. Questions or comments of Ms. Williams? We'll ask the applicant to come forward and make the presentation of your application, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Herbert Humphrey. I'm at 8491 Hospital Drive, Douglas County. I'm here on behalf of the Golden Memorial United Methodist Church, and they're proposing to rezone the property office institutional. This zoning best represents the current use of the property and future highest and best use for consideration of a variety of future developments and programs, such as individual family services, charter private schools, business incubator, vocational schools, recreational activity centers, sports fields, and open space to serve the Christian community and the community at large. And I wanted to specifically highlight the fact that they have already gotten approved one future building that's shown on the site plan that was in the staff report. And that's a 22,000 square foot facility that will be behind the existing church. And ordinance 2015-63 was a special use permit with no time stipulation with respect to that particular development. And I would like to highlight in particular with respect to the request for this office institutional rezoning the fact that in order for them to have a facility and to have the type of ministries or the secular community would call them programs or things of that nature, they would have to have a proper zoning. If they wanted to have a school or if they wanted to teach coding and have an actual program where people can get CEUs or anything of that nature, it would have to have the proper zoning for them to carry out those activities. A lot of times churches do things on Sunday, volunteer, and it's a one-time, but if you're going to actually implement a program and now have a structured program, it has to be in a facility that has the proper zoning. So with a church that sits on 30 acres, and now they're only using 7 acres, you know, your talents, you're wasting your talents basically if you're not going to try to grow that property. And another thing I would like to highlight with the questions that were asked about community connectivity and things of that nature, I would like to just give you an overview of what the church is planning in their long-range planning and what this piece of property is going to do for this, where they're located. As the previous presenter with the senior citizen facility or independent living facility will be adjacent to this particular property. And in their plan, they're going to have connectivity to the church property. That was one of the requests that the church made. So that community can readily access the church. And the church has also taken the initiative with the Chicago Park development earlier when they wanted to get an easement. They also gave us a pedestrian easement where we're going to have access to their property because the church would like to create a pedestrian walkways that will bridge the community to the church facility as well as Wheeling Workers Park. But I would just like to highlight some things with respect to the property and what's going on. The proposed amendment to rezone the Golden Memorial United Methodist Church property from R2 zone to O2 will be keeping with the recent City of Douglasville, Georgia comprehensive plan and new and changing conditions as follows. The 2011 Douglasville LCI updated plan to promote mixed use and mixed income in the downtown and surrounding area that will facilitate the ability to sustain and support the live, work, and play environment in the surrounding area. Over 90% of the Golden Memorial property boundary lies within a 50-minute walkable area for both the old Dallas Highway and downtown redevelopment. So this particular property is centrally located with some of the major improvements and as well as the developments that are shown within your comprehensive plan. The Wheeling Workers Park improvement, as described in the future concept plan, will incorporate recreation in the currently shown medium-density Douglasville residential character areas. The Wheeling Workers Park property boundary borders the east side of Golden Memorial's property, the one in court that we are requesting to be rezoned, As a result, Golden Memorial property proposes future pedestrian access easement to and from the adjacent residential development through their property to the park. As well, the property primary access is on James D. Simpson Avenue that feeds traffic to Highway 92, Dallas Highway to the east. Future road improvements will consist of State Route 92 realignment, Phase 3 constructed new, which you know about. But I want to say within that comprehensive plan, we'll have access there through the Upshaw Mill. In fact, the church has access to Upshaw Mill. So as the development grows, you're going to have other access depending on the particular development. And as previously said, that could be a bridge between Van Sant and Upshaw through the property. And I'm sure the church will welcome any initiative for the city to carry that public road through their property to Upshaw so the other community won't be cut off from the various facilities that are going to be made available. And finally, the property's primary access is on James D. Simpson that feeds to Chicago. And as I previously mentioned, we will have an alternative access to Van Sant. So that's one of the things. So we're there. So at this time, I would like to conclude my discussion and answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Humphrey. Appreciate that. Are there persons here that would speak in addition to the applicant here in support of this application? If so, please come forward. If not, is there anyone here that would come speaking in opposition to the application? Please come forward. Seeing none, then we will close this portion of the public hearing, or this portion of the application's public hearing, and we will come back on Monday night and take a vote potentially on this application.
Council members want to
I'm sorry, did I miss someone?
Yes, Councilman.
I'm sorry, Ms. Stanley.
Yeah, Councilman Adams, I just wanted to just state that Golden is a historical church in the community. For those of you that do not know, currently where Willie Watkins is used to be Warren Chapel way before my time. And then it was Golden United Memorial Church. They outgrew that space. Now currently they are on James D. Simpson. I have oftentimes visited Golden. Currently there are 3 services at 8, 9:30, and 11. They are all full. They provide breakfast for all 3 services. And pretty much it is a 24/7, I would say Monday through Sunday services that are provided. So the need for the continuation of providing programs for the community is way past due. So I'm glad to see that progressively this is moving forward. Thank you.
I apologize, Ms. Stanley. Other comments or questions from council?
I do have a quick comment. Thank you
Yes,
so much,
Madam
Mr. Chairman. Very eloquent words spoken by Dr. LaShawn Downley. Thank you so much, Mr. Humphrey, for coming in and presenting this concept to the council for them to make a decision on. And I just commend you and the church and Dr. Williams for maximizing the potential for the church and impacting the community in a greater way. As Councilmember Burdanley has said, the services are packed. We don't want Dr. Williams to work so hard. So maybe he can just have one service and not preach 3 times on a Sunday. But this is very exciting. I know you all also open up the church. It's a polling place for city and county elections. And so this will help the community that we won't have to wait as long in lines when it's time to vote. So we do appreciate and excited about the potential for this development and rezoning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anything else? Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Humphries. We will take this up on Monday night. Last item, item D, tabled from December 16th, 2019, formerly item 19-267. Hold a public hearing and consider a request for change in zoning from GC General Commercial District and R2 Residential Single Family Detached District to PRD Planned Residential Development District for 16.46 acres on Whitley Drive and at 7162 West Broad Street and at 12671, 12681, 12691, and 12701 Veterans Memorial Highway, land lot 192, District 1, Section 5, parcels 59 through 64. Application by TPA Residential, LLC. Ms. Williams, did you have anything you wanted to begin with on this application? Okay. If the applicant is present and would like to come forward, we would hear from them at this moment.
I'm Keith Guthrie, 900 Circle 75 Parkway in Atlanta, and represent
Jason Brister, property owner, 6201 Douglas Manor Court, Douglasville.
And we had tried to work with the neighborhood, and what we'd like to do is withdraw the application and ask the council to consider allowing us to come back in 6 months per the UDO. And we talked to Councilman Adams about that, and the applicant is no longer interested in the property based on where we would end up on zoning. So the owner, we wanted to allow enough time to work with the neighborhood and come up with a plan that is good for everybody. So we didn't want to try and rush something through that we weren't going to do and have to come back and ask again. So.
Okay. The applicant has spoken. Because we were scheduling a public hearing here tonight, I do want to go forward with that, but you do hear the applicant's request. Are there any items or any questions of council or Madam Mayor for the applicant at this time?
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to make a quick statement. Thank you so much to the applicant and the owner. We appreciate you wanting to work with the community. Thank you so much for being lenient and flexible and understanding and trying to make a win-win project. And thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, did you have a comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I am encouraged by the fact that you're literally going back to the drawing board. And everything I just said on the previous applicant, just take that and bring it forward into this one.
I wanted to comment.
Don't make me repeat myself.
That was very appropriate for us.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comment from council? Okay. You've heard the applicant. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak in favor of the application? Or anyone that would like to speak in opposition to the application in the face of what the request would be? Seeing none, we will then close the public hearing. If there's no other comment or question of council, we will take this up on Monday night. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate you coming in. Madam Mayor, I believe that is all that we have tonight under planning and development. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Job well done. We'll move on to item 11, which is Public Improvement and Beautification Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business this evening.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll move on to Public Relations Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Howard Estes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Public Relations Committee has no business this evening.
Thank you so much, Mr. Estes. We'll move on to item 13, which is Public Safety Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
Madam Mayor, first item A, hold a public hearing to consider a request for the change in agent outlet manager for the alcoholic beverage license for the retail package sale of wine and malt beverage at the following establishment. Licenses, Aldi's, INC, DBA, Aldi's, number 11, location 2990 Chapel Road, current agent outlet manager, Karen Argo, proposed agent outlet manager, Commissioner Johnson. The required fees have been paid into the Finance Department. With the applicant, if you're here, will you please come down?
Is your mic on, Councilman Davis? Okay.
Hello, my name is Kimanisha Johnson at 2990 Chapel Hill Road.
Are you the agent outlet manager?
The proposed.
Oh, it's okay.
Yes.
The council will have some questions to ask, and council, you have any questions, you can form before we have our public hearing.
I did, Councilman. Thank you so much,
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Chairman. From our police department, Captain Stafford, do we have any issues or concerns at this location?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. And then I'm sure someone else will ask about your procedures and how you check for underage selling of alcohol, all of that?
Okay.
Like your procedure, so you have any training, or how do you go about doing that process?
Yes, we actually have computer-based learning upon hire in order to give them the training that they need. Also, we have prompts at each register anytime that an alcohol sale goes through. So it prompts for ID of every person that's trying to purchase alcohol, and you have to enter their birthday, and the only way to do that is to see ID.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other council members?
Yes, Mr. Davis. Ms. Johnson, I just question, and I ask this question most every time we have a change. Tell us a little bit about your experience, one with Aldi, and also the amount of experience that you have in selling alcohol.
Well, I have retail experience with just across the board of about 15 years. Okay. In that time, I've had experience selling alcohol in that whole 15 years. With Aldi, I've been there 3 years. And what was the other question?
Well, that's it.
That was
that's
all
basically
you
it.
had.
I'm just curious about your experience level.
Thank you. And I'm the store manager at the location.
Okay. Okay. Good enough. Thank you very much. That's all I had.
Any other council members? Okay, at this time, we will hold a public hearing. And the public hearing is 5 minutes for those who speak in opposition of this item. So at this time, we would ask any takers to come down and speak on this item. Look like we don't have no takers. And I will give 5 minutes for those who in support of this item. Okay, we don't have no takers, so I will hold the public hearing to a close. And if you come back on Monday, and we'll give you an answer, okay?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am, for coming out. Item B, adopt a resolution approving the Arbor Station Elementary School 26th Annual Bear Run in Arbor Station Subdivision on Saturday, March 28, 2020, including street closing starting at 2:30 p.m. This is one that's been happening for years, and okay.
Brad Stafford, Police Department, 2083 Fairburn Road. We are requesting the road closure for the annual bear run. I believe it's been going on for about 26 years now, and it's pretty much run the same way. We use our school resource officers for traffic control. They will shut down the roads. I believe you guys have a map. Essentially, it's Parkway South, Knollwood, and Oakwood. They run 2 races, one of them for the little kids under 3rd grade, I believe, and it's a mile. The other one is about 2 miles for the older kids and the parents. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
It starts at 2:30. What time will the road be closed?
I'm not sure about that, sir. I don't want to tell you wrong, but I think they start closing at about 15 minutes or so before. It's not a heavily traveled roadway, so they can shut it down pretty much right before the event, make sure all the traffic's clear, and then I think they keep it closed for maybe 40 minutes.
Right, okay.
The event doesn't take a long time.
Okay, question from the council.
Chair?
Yes, sir.
I just want to say this is a great event. There's not many times when you close down neighborhood roads and so few people will complain about it, as I've seen in Arbor Station. It's a wonderful event. My kids participated when they were of the appropriate size. So it's and Coach Souls does it. Just a quick shout out to Coach Souls over there. He does a fantastic job every year. So thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, I just would like to add to what Mayor Pro Tem just said. The partnership between the city and Arbor Station Elementary over the years with this race has been a good partnership, and it's a good thing for the community. And Coach Souls, a good friend of mine, has been a strong advocate for this race and organize it, and we appreciate the police department's participation in this race also. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
If there's, Madam Mayor?
It just brings back memories. I don't have to run anymore. My daughter, the baby, is just signed today her academic with Savannah State University. She had early admission, so we're going to be empty nesters. So I remember not fun run. What was it called? They were road runners, and we had to go and run this race every year. So I know.
Okay,
thank you.
Go Bears.
If there's no other question on the council, I'd like to put this on the consent agenda for Monday, if it's the pleasure. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Public Safety Chair. All right, Councilman Watts, you have a lot going on with Recreation, Culture, and Tourism Committee, chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Believe it or not, we have 13 items, but I'm going to tie them all together
the whole
here.
Alphabet on this.
Before I get started, Ms. Jackson, do you have any comments on this?
Yes, sir. So Chelsea Jackson, 6695 Church Street. Over the past few months, you all have interviewed all of these individuals, 13 in total. As you remember, early last year, you established the Parks and Recreation Board, which is needed for the CAPRA certification that the Parks and Recreation Department is going through. So you have interviewed all individuals, and they are ready to serve and eager to serve.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Jackson. So I'm going to read this almost like one item in 13. We're here to appoint representatives to the city's Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Leslie Lunsford to post 1 for a term expiring February 15, 2022. Elena Hudson, post 2, term expiring February 15, 2021. Charles Jones to post 3, term expiring February 15, 2023. Francisco Artley, post 4, term expiring February 15, 2022. Kayla Betha, post 5, term expiring February 15, 2021. Toby Foster, post 6, term expiring February 15, 2023. Faye Dobbs Carter, post 7, term expiring February 15, 2022. Emily Leitner, post 8, term expiring on February 15, 2021. Barry Gamble, post 9, term expiring February 15, 2023. Eric Collins, post 10, term expiring February 15, 2022. Steve Horde, post 11, term expiring February 15, 2021. Chad Griffin, post 12, term expiring February 15, 2023. And Sherman Hampton, post 13, term expiring February 15th, 2022. Do we have any comments or questions from Mayor and Council? With that being said, and since all the names have been read into the record, I'd like to make a recommendation that this be placed on a consent agenda on Monday.
Second.
All right, thank you. Mayor, that's all I had tonight, believe it or not, on Recreation, Culture, and Tourism.
That's how you do that, Councilman Watts? We'll move on to item, I know, very efficient. We'll move on to item 15, Technology Committee. That's chaired by Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We mercifully have only one item under the Technology Committee at this time, and that is to authorize the mayor to sign a service contract with Dovetail Communications, LLC, for phone service at the city's Wellness Center. And I believe Mr. Jenkins has some information for us.
All right. Sam Jenkins, IT Manager, 6695 Church Street. Good evening, Madam and City Council. So for the Wellness Center, we're asking that we authorize that Sync Global provide phone and also fax services for the new Wellness Center. They currently offer phone, telecommunication, and also internet service now for our other city facilities. So we already doing business with this vendor, and they came in with a lower quote than the other vendor we had quote, which was Comcast.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments from anybody on council regarding this matter? Questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, if there are no objections from any member of the council or the mayor, I would like to place item 15A on the consent agenda for Monday evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's all we have under the Technology Committee at this time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Move on to item 16, which is Transportation Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Burdanley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no items under transportation tonight.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Welcome.
Other business. Is there any other business to come before council tonight from council members, from the elected body? The only other business that I would like to bring up is just accommodations to thank the council for your time during the retreat last week with the city staff, preparing us for the 2020-2021 initiatives for the city of Douglasville. So thank you for your time. I know it was time well spent, but it was a sacrifice, time away from your family. So I really appreciate you all taking that opportunity to help move the city forward. This is the year of execution. So we thank you so much for that. And for the supper club meetings, we've had 3. The first one, those civic engagement dinners. We had one with the high schoolers from the 5 high schools, the high school senior class president and vice president, and those were very interesting to see what young people wanted in the city. And so we have engaged with 2 of the wards, our downtown ward with council members Adams and Miller in. And then this week actually, with the Arbor Station for Mayor Pro Tem Miller. So thank you all for council members coming out on a night where you didn't have to be there, but you did sacrifice for your time, and the citizens are really excited. We've gathered information. We'll continue to do that through all the wards to have intimate conversations, trying to see what the community really wants. So we'll move on to the next ward soon. I'm not going to say when the next one is scheduled, but it's coming up soon. I believe it's in March. And so we'll have the north side as well as Tributary. And Councilman Watts, yours was supposed to be next, but we're working it out. But that was exciting. I want to thank this community for that. So any other business from council members? Okay, not seeing any. Then we'll move on to updates from city staff. Our city attorney, Mr. Joel Dodson.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Chief Assistant City Attorney, Ms. Susan Littlefield.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Chief of Police, that's not the chief, that's Captain Stafford.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much. Our city manager, Ms. Marsha Hampton.
Yes, ma'am. So we will cut a ribbon on Monday, Cedar Mountain Road. So for those who are looking for transportation and you haven't seen the new facility, I think you'll be impressed. It's open to the public. Transportation will meet here in front of the conference center at 3 o'clock. We will leave at 3:15 to get you there and to have you back for committee meetings at 5. So exciting times, wrapping up a big project. So hope to see you all on Monday between 3 and 3:15.
Make sure you don't use the same bus we did to Oconee today.
No, we will not be chartering services. It will actually be a community service van.
My goodness. Well, thank you so much, City Manager. Any staff reports? Do we have staff reports this evening? Thank you. Comments from citizens and delegates. If you sustain the meeting and you'd like to address us, please come forward and give us your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes. Good to see you, Mr. Ardley.
Good evening, Madam Mayor,
Good evening.
City Council. I am Reverend Dr. Francisco Artley, 5434 Steeplechase here in Douglasville. And I come before you tonight. I'm asking the city to consider purchasing the property located at Timber Ridge Drive and Presley Mill Road. Based off of the previous planning and zoning meetings, that's Land Lot 54, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 2. It's that 83 acres that was proposed earlier. I'd ask the city to create a passive park with walking and running trails and benches. Just recently, that development proposal was brought before planning and zoning to turn that area into high-density usage. This was met with great opposition from the subdivisions near the property. We know that parcel of land is part of the future land map that has designated as high-density usage, and that the property is currently zoned for R2. I'm asking the city to consider turning this property into a passive park, purchasing it and making it a park. I know we already have parks in Douglasville, Worthing Park, Fowler Field, Hunter Park, Mill Village, Willing Works Park, Jesse Davis Park, and we have the West Pines Golf Course. However, there are not any parks in our area by our subdivisions of Kensington Gardens, Kensington, Charlton Crossing, Presley Park, Saddlebrook, the Havens, and the other subdivisions within that area. I believe there's a great need for a park in our area. Right now, St. Teresa Church is in the process of building a new church on Presley Mill. They completed the first phase of their project where they have installed roads and sidewalks, and they've created a square there, and they also have benches. It measures just about half a mile. I know I timed it on my Garmin. To be specific, it's 0.48. This area has become an impromptu park. People will drive over, park their cars, and walk around the square. People from the surrounding neighborhoods will come over. They'll walk their dogs. They will run, and they'll even ride their bicycles around the square. One observation I have made from seeing the people at the church property is that there is a great need for a place where people can go and walk the trails and just get out and enjoy the fresh air and exercise. This property, I think, on Timber Ridge and Presley Mill would be a wonderful place for families to go and walk while enjoying nature and still being within the city limits. And I am willing to work with Councilman Chris Watts, who's the councilman for our district, and the Parks and Recs Board, which I am currently a member of, to conduct the research for this proposed idea. I hope this is something that the city would strongly consider doing, and the reason I emphasize that I think the city would really consider doing this, because just earlier, Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller said that they're looking with the development area on the north side, looking for places to create a refuge within the city, connectability he mentioned, places that are pedestrian friendly, places that get people out of their cars, a place that we can advertise and show off as part of the city. And this would be a place that would attract people to come to. Those are my words. And this also gives people the ability to walk to this park. And this kind of development of a passive park brings the community together, and it also benefits everybody within the community. And I think it would also complement the bike trails and walk trails that are going on the north side to be able to have something right in our area. And I think it'd be another park in our city that would complement the parks that we already have. But see, this park would be different because it wouldn't have baseball fields, it wouldn't have soccer fields or basketball courts or tennis. This would just be a park with trails to run, to walk, to just go sit. And if you really look at this property, with the stream that it has on it and the way it is, and it's not really a good development area for a bunch of high usage buildings and stuff like that. So I think this would be a great refuge in our city. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Harley. Any other comments from citizens and delegates? Okay. If we don't have any other business, then this meeting is adjourned.